Klochko, and today our traditional Thursday live where we discuss the current events, what happened, we share thoughts, and answering your questions if you have some. So, Heroям Slava, I can see already. Oh, Johnny says, we just doubled our aid from... Yes, I have it, one of the news I would like to cover today. To breadcrumbs, big crumbs. Do you know, when I saw this news, I just thought about you and last live, our conversation about it. Congrats and sorry. Don't be sorry, Norway's been great. I mean, I know your feelings that you would like to make it more and substantial, but you see, it's just, politicians are getting there. You know, it's, I get this hesitation, and being honest, I remember when the war started in 2014 in Ukraine, and obviously people in Crimea and in the east, they were devastated and bleeding, all Ukraine was shook, but more or less sooner other parts which hasn't been affected that much, they just try to carry on as normal. So, you know, it's devastating events and it's something difficult to face. And I mean, in case with Norway, it's the war reality, the danger for the country. So yeah, it's quite understandable, but they are among very active donators and among active partners who help Ukraine. So Johnny, thank you very much, and all the people from Norway for their love, support, and understanding how difficult for Ukraine at the moment, especially after this situation in the Oval Office. Sandra saying Slava Ukraina, Heroям Slava. Yes. So I have to say, you know, sometimes when you can read all the days the news to think where it's going, but today in the morning I've got the text from Jade McGlynn, and she sent me this article from The Guardian. I left the article in the description under this video. Have a look. And it's basically about the European-led Ukraine air protection plan could halt Russian missile attacks. So the idea is there's a Sky Shield proposal drawn by military experts, and it would be this kind of the unity of countries. It's quite difficult to understand what exactly there, because there's no precise information, but it will be separately from NATO, and they deploy 120 fighter jets. Have a look at the article. There's a few names, famous names among the military experts who supported it, and a bit more details, but the whole plan is not known, because it's I can understand there's consultation going on and they see how it's possible to do. But while I was reading the article, it reminded me conversation House of Lords with one of the experts on aviation. And this British expert, and he was so much on my sort of wavelength, and he was saying, yeah, it would be great if from day one NATO fighter jets took off and covered, basically protected Ukrainian sky. But as we know, it hasn't happened, and so I was quite inspired and excited about this proposal. And it reminded me also when the first day of invasion, then second day, I spent the whole day with the Ukrainians opposite the Downing Street with those posters asking NATO to protect the sky, and it was a shocking day. It was one of those moments when you live through and you're absolutely numb, and you have a feeling it's not happening with you. You're just watching some sort of film, because it's way too dramatic for reality, but it wasn't. Also, I'm sure you all sort of like through and through went through analysis and news about this situation in the Oval Office. Why suit wasn't there, why Zelensky said there, was it ambush, how appropriate or inappropriate it was between the presidents and J.D. Vance. So But US President's Special Representative for Ukraine and Russia, Keith Kellogg, said that the dispute between Volodymyr Zelensky and Donald Trump last week at the White House was due to the different goals of the two leaders in the Russian-Ukrainian war. And it's basically this news coming from Ukrainian media, European Pravda. And Kellogg, in his report on ways to end the war in Ukraine at the Council for Foreign Relations discussion, so Kellogg suggested that the friction between President Zelensky and President Trump during visit was the result. They have a different approach or different goals. While Zelensky wanted to Trump publicly acknowledge that Ukraine has priority or the privilege, and President Trump and he wanted Trump to publicly push the United States on the side against Russia. But that Trump didn't want to give anybody advantage. And also, interesting thing, I've heard today that Trump is banking on good relationship with Putin, and he is quite sure that if Putin promises him or whatever, guarantees him not invading or not attacking Ukraine, and Putin will never do it. Okay, we won't count how many times Putin lied and broke his own promises, but even if Trump's right, Trump's how long is gonna last? A few years, and then what? And then another invasion when Putin and his army are feeling stronger. So I totally understand and support uncertainty of Volodymyr Zelensky. Johnny. The Norwegian parliament has decided to increase aid to Ukraine by 4.6 billion to $7.8 billion in 2025. And this was announced after meeting parliamentary fraction leaders. So interesting, isn't it? So we were just discussing last week, wasn't it? Or it was on Monday. And there's quite significant increase. So I can see how's everyone shaken up in Europe. I hope it's going to be helpful. And the other thing, I was quite upset about the news that US stops sharing intelligence with Ukraine. But Ukraine bought satellite some time ago during one of the most devastating, was it October 2022? Maybe it was even 10th of October, if I'm not wrong. And Ukrainians were so angry and they were donating. And the idea first of that donations as crowdfunding was one, and then they basically had so much money they decided to buy a satellite. And now, since then, obviously, Ukrainian intelligence uses those images a lot for the fighting and pushing off the enemy and attacking enemy on their territory, on their military bases. So, you know, when there's expression, Ukrainians never give up, like it or not, but this is a strong part of our mentality. And the other thing, we might have some development, because you probably have seen it on the news, that Donald Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, has confirmed that talks between the Ukrainian and US delegations on the Russian-Ukrainian war will take place in Saudi Arabia next week. I think we mentioned that Saudi Arabia is trying to get the international sort of respect and recognition and influence in all of this, and especially in Ukrainian war. We'll see what's gonna be. I doubt there will be another dramatic performance. I'm not sure everyone, any of the sides are happy with that. Okay, let's have a look what you are saying. Okay, Johnny, you said in my heart, lots of love from Ukraine to Norway. I'm sorry for my country to tell you why. Okay, tell me why. Cheryl, hello hello, hello, hello. Sally Lutz, I'm driving and listening for, oh, Sally, please drive safely. So, Captain Reed Sparrow, read my tarot. Oh, okay, thank you for tarot. Okay, Johnny, he's from Norway. He's trying to explain if we added a digit, we would still make a lot of extra profit from the added sale of the value of our oil, and we would have a long-lasting stream of weapons, technology, and money from investments in Ukraine. Well, something holds them back. You see, I get your point about what's holding them back, because usually politicians are driven by the those things which are priority within their people, unless they need, like, for example, Boris Johnson. There was genius move. He had so much trouble in the UK, and there's war happening, and he goes first as a leader, and he was amazing there, like saving Ukraine, gathering leaders European. He was first to step up, and how positive it was for him, not just in Ukraine. Ukraine, he's hero for years and years, and I think generations ahead. But here in the UK, people were like, wow, well done, Boris. So you see, hello from UK. Oh, hello, Robert. Hello from South London. Just for those who just join us, I just make clear that I'm Ukrainian. I'm a journalist and I'm from Ukraine, but since 2011 I live in South London. So hello everyone who is in the UK. Okay, Captain Reed's reminding us the former career of President Zelensky, the Ukraine's president, is a comedian. Yes, he's comedian, he's successful actor, manager, film producer, and many other things. Yes, he is. So he's multi-talented man, and he managed to do the best president so far among all of them the Ukraine had through all those curves of history. Krasnov, Cheryl says Krasnov showed his true colors. Yeah, unfortunately. Captain Reed's asking if I keep my promises. Well, I try to, depends what kind of promises you're referring to. Jenny says, US is good, but not alone. Trump can't ban Intel from UK, France, Poland, the US, or anyone else. Yeah, he can. And I think it was as soon as the Trump started his tender love with Vladimir Putin, since he got the position, there was hesitation. I read somewhere among the top of the European intelligence services, because they were afraid that US start sharing intelligence with Russia. So who am I that he should consider? No, Putin. Sorry, I didn't understand what you mean. Deepak Rajput saying, I wanted to visit Ukraine, but because of war, I dropped my idea. Yeah, just keep the idea for the safe time. But being honest with you, many people go. I don't know if it's positive or negative, but there are like war tourists, foreigners, young or any basically age. Because with the young ones, I've seen many videos on YouTube, like from the US, UK. It's like, oh, I'm in Ukraine torn by the war, but this is central Kiev, blah blah blah, or it's in Lviv, blah blah blah. So they fascinated by the idea to go to the war zone. But I mean, it is dangerous everywhere, but obviously as soon as you approach to the area of the front lines, quite limited, and it's quite silly going there. Also, there was quite funny. There was one book launch last summer in London, and I met a couple of retired MI6 officers, and they're very curious creatures. And they sort of thought, oh, I went to Ukraine since the invasion. We went to Chernobyl. I've been here, I've been there. So it's still, even those people who supposed to enjoy, I don't know, French wine on French Riviera or somewhere in a lovely English countryside, they're still drawn to go to see Ukraine and probably have a little bit of pumped up adrenaline. I don't know, but I don't mind for people to go. But yeah, there are risks, and Ukraine is very welcoming, very delicious. And the danger is this country will steal your heart forever, and you will go back again and again and again. So Deepak, Deepak is asking, is the situation getting improved in Ukraine? Well, it's not. And today I was talking to my friend on FaceTime and during the day, and he's like, oh, there's air raid signals. And he said, oh, on the map, only Kyiv is under attack, not any other, because as soon as the alarm goes on, you can see on the map which region is getting red. And he's like, what are they going to throw you in Kyiv? But I don't think something happened. Maybe I missed it. Cheryl said, is annoying distraction. Oh, well done, Cheryl. Well done. Yeah, I agree. Distraction, and it's like very much off our flair or our mood, isn't it? Jenny says, as if here was the only place he could build things in Norway. I'm not sure what to Tulsi garbage. Sorry for the typo. I'm not quite sure what you mean, but probably you explain. By the way, it's those who are watching not only lives but also watching the interviews which I publish every Sunday. You would know that last Sunday, on the 2nd of March, I published the interview with Ukrainian live legend or living legend of Ukrainian journalism. I skipped. Okay, I'll go back, Johnny. Andriy Tsaplienko, we were talking about him, about his film, his documentary, which calls Absolute Evil, and it's basically documentation of those war crimes which happened while Kyiv occupied parts of Kyiv region, and he was sort of like on tour in some of the European countries, and he was showing and talking about it, that occupation or any sort of encounter of Russian army is extremely dangerous for Ukraine. And we also discussed with him, he compared his experience covering war in Afghanistan, Iraq, or many other countries, or in Ukraine. And during Ukrainian war, he was twice injured. And the whole idea behind him being on the podcast, I just wanted us to think again and just pay attention. The price journalists, war reporters pay to cover the war. I know we all have social media, we all have phones and GoPros and everything, but to make a decent story, to give the context, to show the right people, not speculate, not trying to frighten or, just to show the tank which firing. No, just giving it context, and for war anywhere part of the world to make sense for those who view it in like thousands of miles away. And after that, there was another tragic story about Ukrainian journalist Victoria Roshina. She worked for Суспільне and Громадське, so it was the premiere of the investigative film Vika's Last Task. So she disappeared. She was covering war constantly, and then once she disappeared, and one of the prisoners exchanged, she wasn't exchanged alive, but her body was returned. And when when her family seen it and the friends, she was like 30 kilos, and her body was terribly tortured. And her colleagues is trying to investigate what happened with her, why she suffered a lot, and this story is going on. So this team particularly learned that Victoria was tortured, as I mentioned, with electric shock. There were traces of knife wounds on her body, and they established the fact the employees of the Russian prison, they were hiding her during the checks. So if everything okay, so she was so terribly tortured, they were hiding it from those people who were coming to inspect the prisoners. Ooh. So I will, after our live, I leave the YouTube story about it. Try to use automatically generated subtitles to look at it, because it is very, very I can't even imagine, really. I'm reading about it because it's colleague, it's, you know, it's one of us, and I think we should know. I know it's not as hype as Trump arguing Zelensky, but this is the reality, this is the truth, and it's not going to be the last one. Journalists who lost their life from because of the Russians and because of they attacked Ukraine. So I see Salt of the Red Earth join us. Hello, hello. It's okay you're late. I just remind everyone that on Monday during last live, because it was first anniversary of 1-year-old podcast, and especially with all those reasons Trump keep us all shocked, I have an idea. What if during one of the lives, while we sort of like in this celebratory mode, join on live, and if you're from US and you would happy to share your attitude or how you feel about what's happening with Trump towards Ukraine. I know I separate American people from Donald Trump, so I don't define the country by the president, but if you're willing to join and have like few words, and you can have different approaches, so I don't mind to do that. And especially YouTube, like for example, I'm going live from phone, we can do it. I can share you, I can send you the link on email. And so far I've got just only one email from Salt of the Red Earth. Sorry, I haven't replied yet, but if he just volunteered himself. But if guys, if you would like to have your say, please have. I'm happy to listen, and I'm sure other would like to do so. Yeah, because we are the community, and we don't necessarily have to agree, but it's great that we can agree to disagree. Or agree, I don't know. So basically, don't forget, you can join on One Lives, and yeah, so I don't mind, and I think it would be quite interesting to see. So Deepak saying, I watched the last conversation, we all did, and I think we all did a million times, where both were arguing with each other regarding the war. Maybe Trump stopped all the help for Ukraine. Well, he's always doing this blackmail and manipulation. This is how he interacts with the outside world. So this, and he did it before, and I'm sure it's not the last time he's going to do it. Are you going to ignore that Trump wants to reduce the threat of nuclear war with Iran? Putin has a relationship with Iran, therefore it makes sense to keep the peace with Putin. Well, the truth is, keeping peace with Putin is quite easy if Putin stops attacking Ukraine. Ukraine didn't invade Russia. Ukraine didn't send missiles. Ukraine didn't send helicopters and planes full of military personnel to attack, to occupy, to kill and torture civilians. So peace with Putin, if you mean by peace by Putin, Ukraine give up or surrender and let Putin to destroy everything, then no. We would like to have peace. I don't know if you knew on the podcast or during the lives, but it, you know, for peace, all Putin needs to do is just withdraw his army. That's it. Ukraine is not interested. Ukraine has a lot of things to do separate from Russia. Ukraine doesn't want to be part of Russia. Ukraine is not the same as Russia. So, Iran, nuclear war. You see, it's just like adding these things. It's a nuclear weapon, which Putin has. Yeah, it gives a little bit of shiver. Biden suffered from the terror. I'm sure he was terrified every time there was blackmail about the nuclear weapon. So Putin is not as strong and invincible as he would like everyone to believe. And Ukraine doesn't want war. Okay, Saltova, Johnny and Cheryl, nice to see you both. Oh, so lovely to have this lovely community. I'm so grateful that you find time to join and be here with me. Okay, do you have any update on mineral deal? Well, you see, there will be meeting in Saudi Arabia. I'm sure they're working on it because it's something Ukraine just waiting for solid security guarantees. Yeah, which Trump didn't give so far. Well, we'll see. Cheryl say voiceovers are so helpful. I'm not always able to see the subtitles. I know, especially Kiev Post, too small font. Yeah, they should know that. Voiceovers, I have to say, it's quite hassle. I started myself when I started the podcast, and there were people I wanted them to speak, but they either refused or were not able to speak English. So when I returned to the UK, my friends, my lovely, generous friends, were sort of like voiceovering, and then I started using AI. So I have AI to help me any time of the day. So it helps kind of reducing time and inconveniences. Yeah, but it's quite a hassle. So I am doing it, and I have to say there are a couple of the interesting. One is a feature, and the other is like shocking interview. I have to translate. It's just at the moment it's just mad schedule I have myself, so I just don't have time. But as soon as I do it, I'm sure Cheryl, you would enjoy it. Sally Lusa, it's good to see familiar people here. Yes, I know. I'm excited myself. Feels like, oh, excellent channel. Mwah. Thank you. Cheryl, who Putin made nuclear threats so many times. I'm numb to them. Yeah. So first, I'm still trying to figure out Jenny's schedule. I was late today. Jenny's schedule is quite simple. It's 7:30 p.m. London time. So that's quite simple. I try to stick to it on Monday and on Thursday. So that's time. I don't change the time. I suspect because you are from the US, so it's a bit different. But you just know it's 7:30 p.m. in London. Yeah, Monday and Thursday. Oh, Mr. X from the other camp. He's saying Trump and Vance, my full respect. Finally, this comedian and woman guy. Well, that's interesting. Mr. X has received his reward. Now there must be finally the peace. Oh, little you can't do anything. Well, I'm wondering, Mr. X, are you actually a human being? Are you the true heart Trump supporter? Or you are a Russian troll? If you are a true Trump supporter and you are so against Zelensky, it's fine. It's sad that you see it like this. And about warmonger, about Zelensky, if you go back, just I think it's 2019, Zelensky, he just got the president's office, and all he was saying, that's exactly his words, like, stop shooting, all you need to do is just stop shooting, we should stop the war, it's gonna be all right. And that's how sort of he was rhetorics, because he truly believed all you need to do is just agree, no fire anymore, and that's it. And guess what? It hasn't worked out. And guess why? Because Putin doesn't stick to his word. Well, that's the reality, and you can deal with it the way you like. Okay. Oh, Cheryl. Oh, you're so kind and generous. So she said nice words about interviews on my podcast channel. Oh. Anyway, Sally, welcome to the podcast, and I'm so happy to have you. I hope our community will grow substantially, and we won't lose this charm of intimacy and joy seeing each other in the comments. Aha, Sasita, new one, saying, I'm new here. I'm Sasita. Hello, hello, welcome to the podcast and to our lives. Just remind again, we have 2 lives during the week, Monday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. London time, because I'm Ukrainian journalist based in London. And also I publish interviews with interesting guests on Sunday during the day. So as soon as I get it from my picture editor, I try to post it. So you have the whole day to watch it, to think, go back, to reflect. So you don't have to, I know how busy weekend can be with kids and family, everything. So sometimes you can watch 10 minutes and then do your stuff and then go back again. I do with my channels. So that's why I try to give you the whole day. Because for me, those interviews, to listen, to think, to find out something new, to share your thoughts, because I kind of like through the interviews, I want to invite you to this big discussion. I want to open up Ukraine for you, not only through some interesting stories, but also through some amazing speakers. Like, for example, last week there was Andriy Tsaplienko. It's just, it doesn't matter what TV channel he works or what media he works. You just say his surname, Tsaplienko, and everyone knows, because this is legend. Cheryl says AI voiceovers are pretty good. Yeah, it's very convenient, and yeah, I agree, absolutely agree. Salute. Oh, thank you. Thank you for appreciation the interviews. Yes, Journey, 7:30 UK time Thursday, and Monday as well, 7:30. Okay, there's questions about my age. I don't know how it's relevant. I'm 40. Say salt of the red earth saying sitting here loves them. Oh, how sweet of you. Salud saying, Cheryl, I'm always glad to share strong messages of truth like Jenny shares. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. By the way, Dr. Jade Maglin, I mentioned her. She sent me this article, which it's in description, about protection of Ukrainian sky. And for you to know, absolutely amazing woman. I have interview with her on the podcast, but right now I invited her to join me and discuss it on the podcast. And she says, unfortunately, I can't because I'm going to be in Izum. Izum, it's Kharkiv region. It's a small town, and it's one of those towns which were occupied, and it's one of the sort of like the lots of graves left when Russian retrieves, and it was shocking when the war crimes investigators were digging up, and shocking how sort of like there was even like young couple with the baby was tortured and killed by Russians. So a brave woman, and she tirelessly supports Ukraine and often spends more time in Kharkiv than probably in London. So keeping fingers crossed for her safety and safe returning back to the US. Deepak is asking if Russia captured big parts of Ukraine territory. I think it's about 20% of the territory. Yes, it's true. But Ukraine is a vast country, like huge. Not as big as Russia, but yeah, it's substantial what Russia occupied. Traumflug! Welcome! Do you think Little Europe is the... Oh, interesting. I will look after. So Traumflug says, I see Little Europe, the expression, is the latest Kremlin bot phrase. Okay. Oh, Frank saying hello. Good evening from Norway. Hello, Johnny. You have your country mate. Uh, oh, hello. Is it Kachev saying Kiev regime aggressive than Donbass people? Well, have a look. Have a look how many pro-Ukrainian demonstrations were in Donbass and in Luhansk when Russian troops crossed the border. And I remember we did with John Sweeney this documentary when MH17 was shut down by Russian book on above Donetsk region. And I remember the footage was uploaded and I was counting, and it's like 76 tanks that just crossed the border, just going. So it wasn't Kiev regime. And it's just recently I read the interview with the lady, she's in Donetsk right now, and she says there are four category of people in Donetsk right now. Those like actively pro-Ukrainian, then there's people sort of like they are so pro-Ukrainian. There's the biggest part is they just don't care. People, they want to stop shooting and firing, and they just stay exhausted by the war. And there's a group of people who are actively pro-Russia. And she was saying, I think there's the woman, and she was saying when Kherson was liberated and in Donetsk, everyone's got excited, or most of people got excited because they thought Ukraine is coming, we're gonna be liberated, because by now they figure out that all those pro-Russian groups and all of those propaganda, basically they were promised everything to be occupied. They thought Russia gonna give them better life, or a life like in Moscow, the luxury, which never happened. And now they feel used and abused, and they understand Russia doesn't care about them. So that's that's their reality, unfortunately. Yeah. She said Russia used the Donbass people. Yeah, it's so true. And even now, what Russians do, they making people, they forcing them on the occupied territories to obtain Russian passport, because otherwise you are not able to get any treatment, any medication. Like, you can't exist if you didn't go anywhere. Or basically it's difficult not to get Russian passport, and as soon as you get Russian passport you get conscripted to the Russian army. So they do use absolutely agree that Russians, if they occupy Ukraine, if Ukraine will fall, then we'll use Ukraine against Poland, because Putin won't stop. And then unfortunately, this is the terrible world we live in. That's why we have to do everything for Putin to stop attacking Ukraine, and Ukraine must win. Putin should withdraw his army and concentrate, if he survives, concentrate on domestic problems, because the pile of domestic problems growing, and war in Ukraine is just a big destruction and shake up their patriotic moods. And there's one of the comment, I don't remember who was there, and he was saying that I was reading or giving the opportunity to be heard for people who were against Zelensky or against Ukraine during live. And you see, I don't think if we're gonna shut down, if it's true person, if it's not Russian bot, right? And they truly believe that Trump is the right person for US, or Trump is the guy who's gonna bring the war, then I'm quite open to discussions, and I'm quite prepared that we can, as I said before, we can agree to disagree. We can have different points, because we're all human beings with our own experience, and it's okay if we sort of look from different perspective. That's why I launched this podcast. It's just invitation to discussion. For me is important to discuss Ukraine. For me is important to cover Ukraine. And how sad, but it's true, the fact that this full-scale invasion put Ukraine on the world map, because many years Ukraine wouldn't stand out from Russia, because Soviet Union for 70 years was called Russia, not the Soviet Union, not the unity of the 18 countries with Georgia, Armenia, Belarus, Ukraine, Tajikistan, Azerbaijan, many countries, Kyrgyzstan. It's all called Russians, and it's so unfair. So that's why I would like Ukraine to have own identity, own face, and the more people find out about the life, the culture, the politics, if you're interested in politics, and army, I think it would make sense. So that's because for me, as a person who lives abroad quite some time, it's quite painful to not being identified as a representative of my own country. So let's have discussions, let's have agreement or disagreement, but let's just talk. And so this Sunday, there will be some surprise. It was a surprise for me because usually I reach out to my guest and saying, or just saying hello, and can we, because many of them I know before my podcast channel, but some of them just I'm reaching out for the podcast. But this time, because this guest, now he became guest on my podcast, but this person heard me on the podcast that Jonathan Silicon Curtain, and there are some bits resonated with him, and he reached out, and he's quite interesting. So we started messaging, and then we set up the time and day to have conversation for you to join and to listen to it. So let's see what you're gonna make out of it. And yeah, I'm quite happy that podcast, you know, it's a sad thing to say, but who attracted into my life many interesting, fascinating people. And but the podcast is just absolutely new level, because there are guests, there are people who helping, you know, those press officers or somebody's assistants and this and that, and they are amazing, they are magical, but you will never find out about them, you will never hear about them, but they do so much work for stories to happen, for interviews to happen. So, and obviously your community, which such a treasure. Absolutely endlessly grateful for you find the time, for your thoughts, and for our connection, communication, and chemistry. So I just remind again, Monday and Thursday, 7:30 London time, we're having lives. We discuss an interview which was published. Interview on this channel is published on Sunday during the day, and we discuss current events, and we discuss many things which bother us, which shake us, basically everything we want. And think again, maybe Cheryl or Johnny, I didn't see Tom Flug, and I didn't see Maximilian today, or Chris. So think maybe you would like, because I can see you quite often, I already know you, sort of your nicknames. Maybe you would like to join during lives and have your say about current situation. Let's do it. Let's do it, because you are the community, you are the force, you are the inspiration behind everything. So email me if you would like, and then we will sort of one day, it's going to be Monday or Thursday, and you will have your say and appear during life, if you feel so, if you feel inspired enough. Okay, I think I'm going to say thank you, and have a lovely evening today, and I'll see you on Monday, and I hope you will enjoy the interview on Sunday. Oh, Trump, look, you don't have a microphone on your computer, much less a camera. Okay. Well, maybe it's the reason to get it, but see how you feel. But actually, you don't need computer because, as you can see, I do my lives from the phone. I find it's the most convenient thing, and so far, I tried on the laptop. No, there was actually a camera when I invited my cameraman Andriy, and he was helping me through everything. But being honest with you, at the moment, it's too complicated. So phone is much more reliable right now. Hopefully, it will be. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for being here, and see you Monday. Thank you for finding time and inspiration. And those who are new, please don't forget like, share, subscribe, and it helps a lot to expand this YouTube channel. So have a very, very good evening. Thank you.